Yeah. 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 What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of River City 93. I'm your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and joining me are two people here to talk about half points out of 2 games, which is 3. That's math. It's Matt and Kate. How are y'all doing?
50-50.
I feel like the sound of 50-50 kind of explains it right now.
Yeah.
Like it does.
I also think I'm about to get sacked as the manager of the Sunday League team I manage. So
wait. This is the better story. How are you about to get sacked from a Sunday League team?
Well, we sort of we haven't won a game all season. And I think today was worst of all. I think we lost 10-1.
Did you have a starting 11 and at least 3 subs?
Yes. We actually had more subs than we've had any game all season.
Then hey, you won. You got more than 11 people to show up for a pickup soccer game.
That's true. Won. That is true. And it was boosted by the fact that Red Army football has teams in 2 different divisions, and the upper division team had a bye, and there's a couple players rostered to both. So everybody only had 1 game this weekend. We showed up, had a lot of fun. Well, I had fun. I didn't actually have to play and get scored on 10 times, but it was, and to be fair, the wind was against us in the whole first half. It was crazy.
That is a proper manage. You went from Jurgen Klopp to Jose Mourinho to Carlo. You've done the trifecta.
Yep. I fear I'm getting sacked in the morning, but we had a good run.
Do we have to have a press release on River City 93?
Are we going to go corner flag? Are we going to go display logo, or like which stock image?
Exterior of the stadium. Yeah. No buyout clause. So
that would be hilarious if I go on Instagram and see River City Brandon Harvey club statement. We have sack Kate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
We go again. Actually, no, we don't go again. We have a bye next week for Easter.
Kate, more important question, though. How was your scouting trip on Saturday, for the true proper mascot for the Ivy?
Oh, yeah.
How was Poppy?
It was wonderful. Poppy, though, it was a very cold day, and they've moved her to the outside enclosure. She's so little. So she was just under the water the whole time because it was probably so cold. She didn't want to be outside the water, so she was just submerged. 90% of her body was submerged underwater the whole time that we were looking at her.
My thing is, how do we get Poppy Night at City Stadium? Because guaranteed sellout if you pull that off, right?
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Gotta be.
Yeah, and what's the worst that could happen there? Like destroy some field. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Worth it. Poppy, true Richmond icon of the.
She accidentally gets run over by a roast food truck. I mean, there's really.
Now that's a scandal.
Which food truck would she enjoy the most, though?
What? I don't know what the diet. Are they vegetarians?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
She'll probably be over there near the funnel cake anyway.
She probably would.
Go for the sweets.
Or the coffee guy, Tom.
We have a whole 2 games to talk about.
Yeah, but this is better.
Yeah, it is. I'm just still laughing at the fact that the Red Army is going to have a press release tomorrow. I wonder who writes it. Who's going to write it? Is it going to be
me?
Get Lee to write it.
That is the pro of being the communications person for the group too.
I know.
I do not quit. I stay.
Like I don't know how this didn't get posted. Hard to say.
It's above me.
That thing in college where you send your professor like a corrupted files before the deadline, so they think you submitted it. They go try to open it. It doesn't open. I'm gonna do that with the press release.
There you go. That's fun. That's right. Also, it's free college advice, kids.
Yeah.
You're not cheating. You're not trying. some can be said about Fields as well, as the Kickers unfortunately lost on Saturday to FC Naples, but they did get a win against Junior Omaha. So I think out of these two games, I think two players kind of come to the forefront, one more than another. Darwin Espinal and Maxi Schinfeld definitely felt like they've, over the last two games, really stood out, created a difference out there.
I don't know.
Huh?
Darwin do anything interesting? Not hard to say.
I mean, he has two good goals. Well, yeah, two good goals. I'll take it.
He's coming for Chandler's scrappy in the box finishing crown.
Yeah. I want to talk about that goal.
That's what I would talk about when I'm talking about, what Chandler's done in the last 3 games. The scrappy pieces. That's the highlight.
This boy what was he at futsal? He was training with Leo Messi. He's been pulling touches out of his locker. Like, I don't know what he did in the off season, but the twinkle toes. He's Mr. Twinkle Toes.
Yes. He has some good performances. Yeah. So I mean,
if you're into that sort of thing,
yeah. All right. So just to give you a table update after these two games. So the Kickers, after 6 games, 3 wins, 3 losses, 9 points, but they're sitting second in the table. So there are some positives to talk about. You guys want to start with the first game against Junior Omaha? Like, I feel like this game is kind of easily somewhat. It felt like it should have been a draw, but it felt like if any team was to score, that's more or less going to close out this game. What are your thoughts on it? Like, everything.
Yeah. So this is probably I think the first home game in like 4 years that I had to miss. So that part sucked, and even more so having to watch the broadcast and listen to the announcers more than I have to normally. Unfortunate.
You gotta learn to mute, man. Just mute it and play some music in the background. Works like a charm.
No, you got to be focused in. Also, if you mute it, you can't hear, any of the crowd in the background either.
So that's true. That's true. It was a decent crowd. Almost 3,000 people on a Wednesday night.
Sure. That game, by about 20 minutes in, just felt like it was destined to 0-0 to me. Like, that each team had, I think, one good chance. Like, James, came up with, one big save. Nuhu didn't come up with one big save, and felt like that was really it. The whole time. The rest of it felt like it was played in midfield. Yeah, there were some, different half chances, like, some speculative, shots. Like, Kirkland had that one that, late in the first half they hit hard, but it's pretty much right at Nuhu.
Yeah. He also had like a good cross. I think it was Bulldog who crossed it in on to him. Like early in the first half, though. Like maybe in the first 10 minutes or so. But that was a good half chance from Kirkland. And it was more so a heck of a cross from Bulldog because I swear I thought that ball was going out.
Yeah. But like, for the most part, like for both teams, it just kind of felt like a midweek going through the motions, sort of game, and nobody would have been sad, mad, upset with 0-0 and taking a point, out of it. But then Emmy happens, then Darwin happens, and good things happen.
Yeah. So let's talk about Darwin's goal for a minute. Simon Fitch, your boy, cuts in from the right wing. I was surprised that he was going to take a shot, but did. Rebounded. Emmy got to it. I don't know why Opta decided not to give Emmy the assist. Am I talking about the right goal?
Yeah. I don't understand that one either.
I can see the only way it got described to me is that Nuhu foot got like maybe the slightest deflection on it, and that's why. But even then, like we're talking about maybe like a fifth.
Like, he got a piece of it, but it didn't materially change the direction the ball was going in. It was still clearly meant to be a cross, to Darwin. Ended up being a cross to Darwin that he got his leg in there before whichever Omaha defender it was, and goals. Any sane person would give that assist to Emmy.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Kate, what you think about it? I mean, you were in sectional. How were the vibes when that goal went there?
I think, yeah, like what Matt was describing, like the clock was just ticking down. Obviously, the chances, there were exciting chances at both ends. So no one would have been surprised if someone did score.
Mm-hmm.
But Section O is definitely on one in terms of razzing the subs. When you have a really small crowd, you kind of lose the anonymity that happens when, you're singing at the subs and everything. So there were the words they could look right into the crowd and see exactly who is chatting shit. So the stakes, it sort of, as it was going further on, we mostly were just like, please, by the grace of God, can they not concede a goal right now? Because they would have dropped the most heinous celebrations in front of Section O right on our head tops. So we were mostly, as the game ticked on, just like, do not concede, do not concede. We've dug ourselves a really deep hole there that we cannot get out of. So please, please, please do not concede. And that goal kind of came from nowhere because we couldn't really see the shot from our angle. Simon takes a shot, but you see it gets through the crowd and then it kind of bounces around. And then it was such a scramble in front of the goal. We didn't even know who scored until they said it over the PA. So, yeah, I would say the vibes went from happy with the 0-0 because obviously what happened in the playoffs last season, a draw with Omaha. You take that every day mostly. So it just kind of was icing on the cake because a 0-0 draw feels good against a team that just won the championship. So
yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Yeah, no, I think the funnier part about the goal is I don't know if you guys seen the photos from like Jess and everyone else, but there's Simon just around the goal screaming. I don't know who he's screaming at. I don't know what he's screaming about, but there are noticeable veins and a red face. It's just him yelling.
When you're hyped, you're hyped, man.
Darwin stayed on the ground
like
for a while.
Yeah.
We couldn't that honestly made us think like, is someone injured? Is the goal actually not going to stand just because they like were gathered around the goal mouth for so long? We were kind of like, is this going to get called back? Is there a foul? Like, did somebody get a handball or something? It like for a moment there was kind of like, is this actually going to stand? The ref isn't doing anything, but why aren't they moving? Why are they all just hanging around the goal for a still? Somebody do something.
Yeah. So yeah, Kickers got to go there. Definitely hang on for the clean sheet. I heard of some of the jokes y'all was saying to Joey G, who actually made his first appearance back in Richmond since leaving, which I found.
Did he not play against us last year?
No, he never played against us in Richmond. Like he wasn't even on the bench.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So I found that a little weird. I was like, oh wow. But
well, here, requisite cheap shot. I guess he's still used to taking L's in Richmond then.
Oh, that is fair. That is fair.
Might not have had the greatest season with him.
Nah, not the best. But yeah. So the most important thing out of this is Richmond keeps a clean sheet. We heard players talk about it. We've talked about it. Darren talked about it. How they were kind of getting annoyed with not being able to finish out games. And to finish out the games against a presumably strong Union Omaha squad is important. Like, so, all right, Matt, I'm gonna ask you this for this clean sheet. Like, what was something you saw that really worked? Because there's one thing that really stood out to me, and that was Maxi Schenfeld was put on like a 1v1 mission with Askoff to the point where Askoff literally, I remember this in the second half, where Askoff was coming down the right wing, and like he went inside, and there's Maxi just follow him all the way to the left wing. Like it's literally like Darren just told him, like, no, I just want you to follow him. And it seemed like they were trying to create on that side with Askoff the entire time. And Maxi did a great job of shutting him down.
I mean, I think that's certainly a piece of it. I think a lot of it was a little bit of the combination of players that were out there. So first change was didn't have Cella out there, had Guy instead, and I absolutely roasted into him after the Open Cup game because he had a bad game then. But he stepped it back in the team, and he performed quite well on Wednesday. Partnering with Griffin, but I think that, and then Neal's dropping out, and James coming into the lineup, really made for a strong defensive core through the middle, and I think that really helped to limit what Omaha does and can do. Like, they're used to playing on a compact field. They're not necessarily a width based team because their home games are going to be on a post stand. Why would you build your team like that? But being able to deny that, like, how many really good looks did Omaha get? They got the one that came off of a cross on the header that
James
made big save on.
The
other one,
second half.
like,
I think it was two. I think it was one in the first half.
They had a free kick.
Yeah.
And then one super late that was at a terrible angle that would have. Yeah. If James lets that in, it probably would not have been a good goal. Let in.
I would say 2 big saves for him.
So not a lot of like high quality chances. Like sometimes teams will score on a low percentage chance. Fast forward to Saturday in Darwin, but for the most part, if you can make teams take tougher shots, you're gonna have a better chance of getting a clean sheet. And if you don't kind of shoot yourself in the foot, like this team has had a bad tendency to do so far, like they didn't beat themselves, and we've talked about that a few different shows over the last month or so of cut out the dumb stuff, and this team can play with anybody in this league. It might not always win, but you can at least play with everyone if you're not giving out charity.
Be competitive. What's talking about? You got anything you want to say, Kate?
I was actually going to say that's like a thread with the game on Saturday as well, is just how varied the field conditions are in this league. It it feels like it's got to be a pretty uniquely American problem, just with how many teams are not playing in necessarily soccer-specific stadiums. They're playing on turf of varying quality, multi-purpose turf, as Naples field is. So there's a lot more to factor in when it comes to the ground, when it comes to setup. And so, being able to break down Omaha's midfield, because they're used to playing in a very narrow, like, these are just considerations that in most leagues you wouldn't have to think about, because while there are ranges of field sizes, most are determined by the teams themselves, not the external factors that are creating, honestly, subpar playing conditions. I feel like City Stadium is honestly a great equalizer in many ways, because you're kind of playing the game of football how it's meant to be played, on the surface it's meant to be played on the dimensions it's meant to be played on. And so there's that contrast then with seeing the Kickers go to Naples this weekend, and the conditions just being like,
there is a small part of me that does like the genuine home field advantage factor of like knowing your quirks and everything. Like you think back to like old time like baseball stadiums like Fenway or something, where you got big ass green monster there that like no modern ballpark would build something like that. Like when I was in high school, like our field, there's one corner of it that was always just a little bit boggy, so you kind of knew that, and you could play into it, play around it a little bit. Like I mean, we weren't any good, so it didn't really help us too much, but when we were playing a good team, like you could tell it would frustrate them for a little bit until they figured it out.
So I do have a question, y'all. This is going. If you don't want to entertain this question, I understand, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you think FC Naples turf was the kind of turf where it's like you should wear regular cleats, or the kind of turf where it's like maybe I should get indoor shoes for this? Because this is like it looked thin, like it didn't look like there was no cushion. It looked like laid down on concrete.
It looked like a field hockey turf, like like not something that you'd actually like need any sort of friction on, like grass is meant to provide.
I don't think you want indoor shoes. You might need like like the turf shoes. I mean, it's been a while, been in the purchasing cleats versus turf shoes versus all that game. I don't know the current technology around all that, but
or better yet, did it look like AstroTurf?
No.
Okay, it just looked like very flat. Like it looked like it had no give.
Yeah, and it was like there was no height to it. The grass.
Yeah.
My bigger issue was the colors and the consistent of like when they would alternate colors. Like, in midfield is like every 10 yards, but then it changed somewhere along the way. And it bothered me a lot.
Yeah, light green to dark green. Yeah, that was weird.
Just yeah, the bouncing. I was like, literally, what is this? The 2006 Premier League? Like,
not 2006.
I mean, yeah. Since we already talked about FC Naples, this was one of my things that I saw. Because all right, I'm gonna just say this point. I'm gonna let y'all talk more about this game because I didn't watch it after the 26th minute, so I was surprised to see that he scored. But it looked very early on, like these 20 minutes kind of set the tone for everything. Like it felt like the Kickers had a hard time controlling the ball, and FC Naples just capitalized on that and were able to make dangerous chances for themselves. And anytime the Kickers tried to build up to a dangerous chance, it would be an ill-time pass, a bad bounce, and somebody misjudged, a scramble, and we can never build up consistently. And by the time we did, we're already down 2 goals. And I will let y'all pick this apart and figure it out. Because once again, y'all watched live and I didn't.
Yeah, I would say the first 26, the first half hour, I'd say were pretty rough. So Nicole at one point said, if the Kickers have ever needed a timeout, if we could institute timeouts, you've never seen a game that needed one more because the ball was just flying. The wind was insane. So that also added to the ball just being very difficult to control, especially when you're not used to playing on a surface that moves that quickly.
I wonder what the wind gust was.
It
like on the corner kick where they scored, you can see the corner flag, and it's like straight upright.
Yeah,
it's going so hard.
Yeah, like the ball was like they'd put it down for a set piece, and the ball would start rolling along the pitch, like carried by the wind. So it was the wind, the bounciness of the field.
Oh, it was 18 miles.
Yeah, it looked rough, and so they would they'd be playing balls down the line, and it would just fly and go straight out of bounds. Like nothing was connecting. It was I was very concerned for that first 30. Outside, like that, this Naples as obviously on an undefeated run. They've looked very good. They've scored a lot of goals. You kind of had that sinking feeling, like, is this what the top of the table is going to look like? And all the rest of the teams that we're seeing, the results are quite mixed. Like, is everyone else just way worse? Like, is anyone going to be able to compete? At the top of the table, like, are they really just this good? But after the 30th minute, there wasn't actually like a major stoppage or anything, but they just kind of settled. And I think obviously it takes a little bit of time to get adjusted to the pace of the ball, how quickly it would move. They needed you need very, very tight touches on that surface. And I think
and I felt like it took a long time. Like even in the second half, there were a lot of just hard touches in the ball, not being able to get the ball under control. On that surface. It's like, I mean, to a certain degree, you can only blame the surface so much.
Yeah.
There it's like, come on, guys, like be able to make a touch that isn't going to go 3 yards away from you, and you lose possession, instantly through there. So it just felt like they came out flat. Like you see it, sometimes where I don't know why, but it just feels like. Did y'all think it was a 7:30 kick? Did you not ready? But it took a while to wake up.
Yeah.
Essentially, and they got back, to kind of like a level, state in terms of like the way the game was going. Obviously, they never level, equalized on the scoreboard or anything, but the last hour or so was they certainly weren't the worst team. I don't know if I'd say they were a better team than Naples at any point, but the problem was they needed to be a better team than Naples because they dug themselves a hole, and Darwin hitting just an absolute bomb that only papered over some of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go look at the first goal. What was it? Farian scores on a set piece. Dangler
He
kind
didn't
of
know anything about that. Come on.
Oh no, he didn't. That's what I was saying earlier. Like Dangler has this ball, and to me, I could be 100% wrong with this, but it feels like to me, this is once again one of those once in a lifetime moments where he has this ball to the back post, and it just happens to fall into the midsection of Farian. Like if he tried this again, it feels like if it's going into net, Sneddon probably saves it, at least gives a fingertip save to it, or is going wide of the post.
I don't know.
That's what it feels like to me. Like I said, I could be wrong on it, but that's what it felt like when I watched it.
You're a professional defender, and you are on the back post on a corner kick, and you get that much space to really be able to line up your header. You can be able to put it where you want. Like you don't have to be like a Champions League level.
You think they practice that? For him to have that thought in that moment. I'm not like criticizing. Yeah. I'm just genuinely asking. Okay.
Yeah, I guarantee you, like you give some of our big guys that chance to put that header in, they can put it towards the back, but they might not hit square on the post. Every time they might actually put them in.
That's what I'm saying. I like that squaring is straight to the post. Like I think he can hit it to the back post. I just think like the way how it came up and he hit like the post, like just square.
Well, that's the part. The post. He wasn't trying to do that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he meant that part of it.
Yeah, but I mean that was a very controlled header because he was wide open, which is the bigger concern for me because this is a guy who's been in the league for a couple of years, known for being very strong in the air. Like how have anybody on that? This is also a team where you saw in the pregame package, they scored the most set piece goals in the league or whatever the stat was. So like how has he left this wide open?
Yeah, they got 3 set piece goals already this season.
Yeah, so like known quantity against a team that is known for doing that. That didn't seem great. And then when he hits that initial header, like I don't think James gets to that. Like he looked like he was caught a little flat footed there. Like, and that's not to blame him at all. Just a well placed header, and then the rest of the team kind of ball watched it too. So when came off the posts, there are like 3 different Naples guys there. Just happened to hit the one of them and go in.
Kind of a slow reaction to everything. Kind of go, and then what was it? I think the second goal happened right around like 15 minutes later, like 26 minutes. James Vaughn, he was trying to. I see what he was trying to do, like head it back to the back line, or like get enough power to head it back to the goalkeeper. That might be the stretch, but like heading it that way always felt like setting up trouble because our back line isn't the quickest, and it felt like Ferran, who scored the early goal, got it, made a through ball through, and it's Vaughn, Hinderlong, and Dak.
Like he was in that area too.
Yeah, he was. It just felt like Dak got to get a little stronger. He got kind of shoved back there by Hinderlong. But really, for me,
you thought it was strength. I thought it was pace.
It felt like strength. Like he couldn't like get around Hinderlong. Pace wise, I mean, maybe so. A little bit of that. It just felt more so like strength. But yeah, for me, I think the big issue is when I first saw it was just Vaughn. Like he stops at the 6-yard box. If he keeps his run to the goal line, maybe he could save it because he felt. I mean, he's in front of the ball at that point, and it just felt like since Hinderlong's already in front of Dak can't really do too much instead of maybe have like the perfect time tackle. But that wasn't gonna happen. But yeah, what did y'all see on this goal?
Well, I think Naples have obviously scored a lot of goals already this season, and they're scoring off set pieces. But both of these goals were pretty scrappy. Like they weren't neither of them were super clean. Like a a sliding tackle with a guy off your shoulder, kind of deflecting it. I mean, it wasn't like it was pretty like, yeah, both of them are pretty scrappy goals. And that usually is what sets apart a winning team from an average team, is not necessarily constructing goals that are, Darwin Espinal banger from outside the 18 level, but just wanting it more. Like that's a stupid kind of trite thing to say about scoring goals, but just like crunchy, scrappy, being in the right place at the right time. And so I think kickers didn't help themselves. The back line didn't help themselves. So it's not that this team is invincible, but they score goals that aren't the most beautiful. Both of these were. There was... I couldn't. I thought even that was an own goal. Like he obviously got the touch, but like
it has that vibe
easily
to it,
could have been an own goal off Dak as well. Like it was that sort of like he was just kind of sliding in headlong. Like
I mean, it's the same thing as Darwin's goal on Wednesday, really, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not the build up, obviously, but the cross right across the face of the 6, and attacker gets the foot in there before defenders do. Kind of your classic center forward, fox in the box, type of goal where guy pops up at the right spot. I think for me this whole thing started way back in our attacking half, really, because back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, just not being able to be clean on the ball and the ball pinballing around quite a bit, and that's what leads to Vaughn trying to clean it up and inadvertently starting the counter instead, and then guy breaks out there, like Griffin's out there, like he keeps him from being able to come inside, but doesn't necessarily slow him down either, and doesn't deter him from picking out a pass. And then Henderlong just dusted our midfield and defense to get to the exact right spot that he wanted to. So like it didn't seem like any of the guys, like, okay, if you're not faster than them, you're not faster than them, nothing you can do about that, but you can get in his way a little bit and get him off his preferred path, and maybe that's the split second that you need to be able to make a difference, like almost kind of run a defensive pick play on them through there. So it's a couple of the same issues we've talked about with some of the other goals we've given up this year, like, but that's also a goal that Emmy has scored for us countless number of times too, so it happens.
38th minute. Well, around that time.
36.
36? Okay, so I'm 2 minutes off. All right. Darwin gets his goal. Kicker was able to pull one back. A good shot from the outside of the box there. Did it feel like momentum was building after this goal for y'all? Well, first of all, talk about the goal.
Well, first of all, we're not going to gloss over this with good shot.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's a great shot. P. Delgado had him stretched out.
No, I mean, this is the kind of goal that if it's scored in a top European league, it's on Sports Center highlights, and it's on YouTube video clip of everything, because that's basically he turns a guy about 40 yards from goal, runs, fills the space, and I couldn't figure out how wide the different color patches were, so I don't know exactly what yard line he might have been on. Where are you Greenville when we need you with your football field markers? But he launched it probably 25 so yards out, and just with pace curls it into the far 90 right there. Like Delgado had sight on the ball the whole time, could do nothing about it. Like legitimately a goal that would be if he was a brand name player out there in the world, would be replayed everywhere.
No, it was you're right. It deserved the proper text. It was a proper goal. Like it was.
Yeah.
This is it'd be hilarious if this goal wins goals of the week.
Well, no, it's not hilarious. This wins goal of the week because it deserves to win goal of the week. I know where you're going with this, but this is also a deserved goal of the week.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's gonna be hilarious if like some scrappy goal beats out
that
this
first
goal.
Naples goal where almost hits him in the dick and goes in.
Yeah, like that wins. We're like, all right, you know what? Me personally, that's why I stopped voting in them. When I found out it was fan voted and you can vote as many times, I was like,
and they Naples is setting up bots, so
yeah.
I'm sure
they're trying to win everything.
That is what I said after Darwin scored. I said, well, that goal is more beautiful than both of theirs put together. So we are leaving here with something. It's also basically the exact same goal he scored against Forward Madison. So we have to hope that he keeps hitting those before defenses figure out that they cannot give him.
No, let it be like the Arjun Robin just on the left side. Like, you know it's coming. You know what he's going to do. You just can't stop it.
Each time it becomes like 3 or 4 yards further away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Eventually he'll hit his Emmy.
He will. It is coming. Yeah, it was a great goal. And I don't know if it necessarily like was the turning point, because I think they'd already gotten better a couple minutes before that. They'd sort of settled in, but it definitely, to me at least, that scoreline is a better reflection of how the game played out. The 2-0, I was worried that this was just the beginning of a deluge, that they were just going to keep scoring, that, it was the mentality would collapse. So the fact that in this first half, they were able to get that goal back. The second half was a 0-0 draw, like textbook, same thing as Union Omaha. Like, I thought that both teams looked very equally matched. So the sort of 2 early goals all of a sudden looked more like, oh yeah, they just hadn't woken up yet, rather than this is the top team in the league. They're steamrolling over, the Kickers at it again. It's to me, it changed the timing of the goal really helped shift the mindset.
Yeah. Although almost simultaneous to this was massive point of concern, because we turn from Darwin celebrations to seeing Griffin on the ground clearly going through a protocol check right there, getting the follow my finger and everything. And I mean, you could just tell by the way the trainer was working with him that that wasn't working out very well. So no surprise when a minute or so later in the background you see Neil's getting ready and he comes in right away. It took a long time for the announcer to figure out that, oh no, they didn't change everything up, they just dropped Dak back to defense because he has a lot of experience there. They're like, this is really weird, they're changing their shape entirely. Right? No, like, do a little bit of homework ahead of time.
We know this.
And then and Darren also showed right at the half, he made a lot of changes, brought in
I think 3 more right at halftime.
Like it indicated that he thought that they could have gotten a result there. So he brought the big guns on right at the half. He didn't wait, until the 65th minute to bring them on, and the team looked great in the second half. So to me, it was reassuring. Naples is top of the table, and from what I've seen from them, deservedly so. The fact that Kickers could hang with them for over an hour, and it was really a self-inflicted defeat more than one.
I don't think it was self-inflicted. I think
self-inflicted in that they just didn't show up for the first 25 minutes. That it took them that long to figure out, and both of the goals were scored during that period.
It felt like it was a tipping point. Like, this game could have gotten very out of hand, but the Kickers were able to at least score it to stop it.
But I think you said this earlier, but the damage kind of had already been done, where Naples is a good enough team. They've only conceded before that 1 goal at home. They've played a couple games at home. They'd only conceded 1 at home, and it was in their home opener. Like, they haven't conceded a huge amount of goals this season as well. So they were pretty confident, I think, in their ability to see that result out, even as the Kickers got better. So I say self-inflicted, not because Naples didn't earn those goals, but because, if you're not going to show up for 25 minutes against the best team in the league, it's you can't expect to still earn a result.
I think Hinderlong is the Golden Boot leader right now as well. I felt like it might be on.
And maybe, but it's early. Like, we've seen teams come out strong in the beginning. Like, and also on the flip side, like, the last few years, Omaha, they end up by the end at the top of the league, and they seemingly sandbag the first month or two.
Yeah, that's true as
Yeah,
well.
so
I know, and who knows? Maybe Naples gets an injury. You know, that's happened to a lot of teams. Some key player gets an injury; they're not able to fill the hole. So a lot of things can happen over the course of the season.
So yeah, most definitely, our best wishes go out to Griffin out there.
I couldn't believe they didn't show his injury in the highlights. You know, you're gonna have an 8-minute highlight video, and
like they're not going to show injuries in the highlights.
Well, he then was taken out in an injury substitution, like clearly related. He was bleeding. Like it was crazy that he even went back. Like that was like 8 minutes in, a massive elbow to the face, slams into the sideboards, doesn't get up for like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, hope for his own sake, hopefully he's better soon. But if he's on the other side, if he's not, and I don't know what the deal with Chella is, because according to the broadcast, both games there were no injuries. But suddenly he's missing, and some other stuff's going on. Like, and also in the Omaha game, 5 minutes after they show a graphic with injury report, none, they're talking about how two guys from Omaha are out long term with surgery. It's like, how are you gonna have a injury report that says no injuries, and then literally talk about how two of your starters are out with injury, surgery,
third division soccer, man. We
no, that's not third division soccer. It's the USL's production group is forever being lazy. Reference good old first name last name. Still, like, I think first name was player of the match in the Naples game, if I remember correctly.
Name 12 was at one point.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
A friend on Twitter, name 12, and they forgot that the word presented has two E's in it. So everything that was presented by a sponsor was not, in fact, presented, but presented. We didn't know if that was a reference to Perpa, who came in, if they were, shouting him out. But shocker.
Don't give him a way out there, Kate.
Yeah, but shocking performance from the graphics team, and shocking performance from the cameraman, honestly.
That camera angle was horrible.
Yeah. We think he was trying to zoom in to avoid the glare for the first 30 minutes, but he was so zoomed in, he was not tracking the ball at all. Like, we just kept saying, oh, it'd be nice to see how that ball came out of the air, but I guess we'll never know because the camera just could not keep track.
Where I was headed before I got distracted by crapping all over USL Productions, because I enjoy doing that a lot, was that if Griffin is out suddenly and Clyde's out, suddenly very thin at center back.
Yes.
So hopefully nothing serious for either of them, for their sake, for our sake, for everybody's sake, and won't be paper thin, because we've seen what happens with that sometimes in the past.
Yeah. Hopefully Clyde is back for the Westchester game. Griffin, I don't think he's. You might see him back before the Jägermeister game against Louisville, but I even doubt that if it's a concussion. Just because you never know. Yeah.
And he's still a kid. We don't want to run. We can't give him CTE.
I don't want. I don't need Griffin to get CTE at the age of 18. No. So let me ask you this: so the second half, or lack thereof, the fight, quote unquote, for the Kickers being able to come back into it. This game kind of felt like it had the same vibes as the Forward Madison game, because Kate, you were making a comparison earlier, like the Darwin goal, but yet we're down 2-0 early. A Berkenway goal kind of happened. Like, it felt like did it have the same vibes to y'all as the Forward Madison game? Whereas a game that's like, all right, if the Kickers avoided that individual mistake, this is a draw at least. Like, it felt like a game where I forgot what someone tweeted out, where it was like it felt like a draw. This game feels like a draw. That's more so like a loss. Like, it's a loss, but like
it didn't have it felt their performance.
It felt like we should have been drawing this game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I hadn't made the connection to how the Madison game went until you mentioned it, and yeah, it's pretty good. One actually, but I don't know. There was never a point in this game where I felt like the Kickers were the better team at some point. Like, there were a lot of times in the second half of the Madison game where I was pretty confident that the Kickers would score and equalize. Like, I just never got that vibe out of Saturday. Like there were a few times where like the Bill Hart and Emmy and Darwin combo would have the ball around the box and they'd be dancing around trying to find that opening, but like Naples had that scouted pretty well. They weren't letting them kind of do their dance in there, and like Delgado, who's a proven top keeper at this level, never really got threatened too seriously. Like there was the Darwin shot that went in, and I want to say the only other shot on goal was like a Bill Hart, kind of speculative, but didn't really have much juice on it. Shot from about 20 yards out. Like otherwise, there wasn't much going. So yeah, they might have in terms of like flow of game pulled level with Naples, but I have a feeling if I'm a Naples fan, I would never really feel threatened through that second half either, and feel like we might drop points.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Kate, anything for you? Or you
Yeah,
kind of like in the same.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't necessarily like, oh, they created a bucket load of chances, but my concern was so great after that first 25 minutes that they were that it was all right. Here's another season where we cannot compete with the teams at the top of the table, who, regardless of who those teams are going to be, Spokane, Naples. Like we are not going to be. They're just sort of a cut above. To see the fact that they could play with them, that like a couple things go differently. This could be a draw, regardless of what they created in the second half. Was reassuring just based on what we've seen in the past. Like we've seen the collapse, we've seen the inability to compete with the better teams. Obviously the season is long. The good teams could look very different by the end of the season, but I definitely had that sinking feeling of, oh gosh, we've played a couple teams who are not very good. Maybe that's overinflating my sense of how good this team is or what this team's ceiling is. But I came away with this a little less pessimistic because if they can hang with Naples for extended periods, like we could hang with anybody.
Yeah, and if you look at the concept of a 2-game week against teams that I think most people think are probably going to be pretty decent by the end, like where exactly the table they finish, debatable. That's not
definitely playoff teams.
Not that part's not the most relevant, but if you look at both games, and I think we've all said various points, like either one of those games could have potentially ended in a draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the big picture, the Kickers come out ahead here by with a win and a loss rather than 2 draws. So that's 3 points versus 2 points. So, like, I mean, it sucks to lose. Nobody likes that, but in the long run, that it's a trade-off that you mathematically make.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel good about it. It would have been nice to get a draw out of that Naples game, especially being an early season top of the table cash. But like,
it also would have been nice because it's still they never put us out the power rankings. We were not in any, no matter.
Despite being like second at the table, we were like nowhere near.
Yeah,
not in the top 10.
No,
I know we want to get in those power rankings because I could go on a rant about how just it's bad.
We're not the hot toy, the week, the month, the year, whatever it is. It's fine. Like they're chasing the clicks from the excitable Portland fans who, hey, good job, guys. You finally had your high school prom and finally scored after 3 tries.
Didn't win, but at least you scored a goal.
Oh no, they weren't successful, but
yeah.
Yeah. It's Kate, I look forward to your weekly just thrashing of that club.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
Look, I mean, massive disrespect for them to lose at Tormenta. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And a 10-man Tormenta.
Very few have tried, and very few have accomplished it. A historic loss.
Yeah, between that and Texoma just being rightfully bad, FC Naples might be a legit team. Like they're the only expansion team I can think of that's really good.
Westchester which great segue.
But then they went to Alta and got stomped. So maybe Alta just got off to a really, really slow start, and now they're.
I mean, it could also be. Who knows how you travel to the West Coast is going to treat teams? This year, so that could be a great equalizer. Like maybe they're actually able to capitalize on like Fresno ever was.
Yeah.
Like that home field advantage we were talking about earlier. That's the home field advantage.
True.
Kicking off at what 10:30 at night, almost midnight. Woo!
True.
That game will be rich from. I'm gonna have to drink some coffee that night. That's gonna be a watch. So like, all right, so big wraparound around this. Kickers still in second place. Well, I won't even use place for that because neither teams played the same amount of games.
That's not important right now.
Yeah, but second on the table, they're playing like a decent team, like a decent to good team. The downsides about it is, though, even though we have 3 wins, we have 3 losses. 2 of those being 2-1, where we were down 2 goals. Our best center back prospect has possibly a concussion. Don't know, but that's the assumption. And we have a thin back line. That's the negatives coming out of this. The positives to it is Darwin Espinal has now looked like he's in a great run of form with 5 goal contributions and scoring 3 goals in the past 3 games. And maybe James Vaughn might be a good addition to the midfield. Like, he's definitely surprised me. He's probably the player that surprised me so far this year. And also Maxi as well. So what are you guys' thoughts? What do you guys think? I know I kind of overtook that.
Yeah, I think we're a find a good team. Like, I don't think we're a bad team. I don't think I'm not sold that they're a good team, but they're definitely not a bad team.
Yeah.
Right. And in this league, you can work with that. Yeah.
Looks like there's a lot of bad teams in the league so far. Based on how results have gone, there could be a lot of teams that are bad.
Like, we're in that threshold of okay to good.
Yeah.
We're an okay team, but we can play good.
You need to win the games you're expected to win, and hopefully this team will win the games that they're expected.
There's a lot of teams who are okay to bad, and we're not in that threshold. We're okay to good. We're not okay to bad. Or Texoma. That's just bad.
Yeah. So I mean, that's about where I'm at right now. Like, if you had told me before the season started, like, hey, 9 points for the first 6 games, sign me up, because that's a ratio that's going to get you into the playoffs.
Yeah. So, and everything like that. All right. So, next game coming up, we have the return of Jonathan Bolaños and Stephen Payne. Well, Payne doesn't made his return multiple times, but he comes back to City Stadium with his 3rd club in USL League One. Bolaños makes his return. So, I'm gonna ask you guys about this. Do you think the Red Army, but more so City Stadium, are going to be endearing in any way to seeing Jonathan Bolaños come back to City Stadium? Like, and this is also on top of, like, we've had other players come back, but not on the level or the connection that he had to the crowd as Jonathan Bolaños. Do you think there'll be anything, like any kind of like?
Do you want the sentimental answer or do you want the real answer?
You can give me both.
I think the sentimental answer is like there will be some stick pre-game and then maybe hopefully it's a scenario where we win and then it's fine for the post game, like high fives and everything. Like, it always feels a little weird where we lose and then it's like, oh, come over and give us hugs. We missed you. Thanks for beating us down just now. It's like, no.
Like, go home.
No. Realistic answer, like, the rest of the stadium, no idea who he is at this point. Probably a lot of people in Section O. Like, we've got a lot of new blood that has come in the last 3 years. He's been gone for a while now.
Yeah, maybe so.
So
I would rather not add another name to the list of former players scoring at the Section O end at City Stadium. So if the team could just do us a solid and not allow that to happen, that would be great. I don't need a Stephen Payne 2.0. Oh, I'm gonna come over and pretend to.
Hey, once again, that man repaid all his dues when he celebrated the way he did. He gave us extra time in the hitting army. That set up Chandler's hands. He does not do that. We do not score in the Henny Derby. So he will be. He's good with me.
Nope. Team Kate on this one. That guy's dead to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Payne, but
right, you want to be a dickhead, own it. Be a dickhead. Don't half measure it.
But still goes to show, I don't know if he scored and celebrated in front of the Madison fans at any point, but you could tell that the instinct to run over to Section O still stood out in his head.
Yeah.
They don't even celebrate in front of their own home fans, but former Kickers, the call is there. I bet he didn't even realize he was doing it, honestly.
The real answer with Bolaños is hopefully, his time being stuck in the albatross that is Alabama, got him old, broken down, because Alabama healthcare or
what was left of it,
whatever existed of it, and got fat on whatever kind of barbecue or whatever down there. I mean, let's be real, there's nothing good that's come out of Alabama,
except Mardi Gras.
Well, yeah, that's true.
There's no positives come out of Alabama, and let's hope Jonathan Bolaños gets added to that list because he ain't one of us. So I got no use for him right now.
Yeah, there you go. All right, fair enough. Also, it is also for the W night. Kate, if you don't know, if you're listening, you probably already know. But the podcast, the logo of the show will be coming out tomorrow, so I'll make sure to post that tomorrow. But also, Kate, Alan, and Alex will be the three-person booth on podcast over there. Me and Matt will be rotators or subs when we need to be, but those will be ready for that. So hopefully soon we can talk to the new head coach and pluck his brain about what's going on with the Ivy, but just wanted to plug that. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you guys, this is the last question. How do you guys think we will do against Westchester? You don't have to give me like a prediction, but like what is needed for the Kickers to pull out all 3 points in this game?
So I am scared of potential pace because they've got some dudes on their team. Like they got Obregon, they got Bolaños. They've got some guys who can move a little bit, and again, that's maybe not been the strongest part of our defensive efforts. So you're not getting pulled into a really stretched out game. Like I think being able to find a way to keep the ball compact, keep this might be a game where a little bit more possession can help out the Kickers. But I'll be honest, I haven't really watched any Westchester so far, so really going off of the highlights.
I mean, I've watched a little bit of them. I just looked at the possession stat and they said they have less of the ball than us, and I highly doubt that because I watched the games and they play like in a 4-4-2 mid block, but it's also like they don't try to get it behind. They kind of want the ball at feet sometimes, but they'll try to like be direct about it because they have Stephen Payne and Bolaños now. He's a right winger in the setup, not a left winger. It just felt like they just try to funnel the ball to Obregon. Like that's who the main crux of who they want scoring the goals or creating the chances. And some of everything else kind of rotates around him. What it feels like for what I watch.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the team that played against Alta, and they got Joel Johnson, who was at Charlotte before. That was a guy who could move, who gave us some problems in the past. They got Noah Powder out on the left side, who had always been somewhat mobile as well. So they got some dudes. So I think that's the athleticism versus the Darren style. For me, that's the question of the day.
Yeah, I think don't give up a stupid penalty for Obregon to take would be. Let's start there.
I can agree with that. I can see
Flip side of it is, how scared can you be of a team that can't even score against Alta and Carlos Avalos?
That's what I hope is. I hope that Westchester shows up.
Yeah, that would be. I'm fine with that. Also, weirdly enough, like Villalobos is now like a scorer all over the place. Where he has also played teams out there. So yeah, so that's a wrap on that. I'm trying to think. Matt, anything else from you, my good man, before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I mean, like I said, 6 games in, 3 wins on the board. Getting take care of business at home. Like if you take care of your home games, things will fall into line in this league, and you'll probably be okay. So let's hope it continues and can lead into a nice Easter weekend for people who celebrate Easter weekends.
It's WrestleMania weekend for me. So Saturday I will have my laptop there watching WrestleMania as I watch the Kickers hopefully get a win. Because I'm that much of a sicko. Kate,
so
anything else?
Are we going to expect you to hack into the big video board and try to put it on the big screen?
I'm just saying, if you happen to hear like wrestling music, just ignore it. Just ignore it. It's fine. Kate, anything else from you before we wrap up?
No, but it would be nice to see more goals than just one at City Stadium. Maybe another win by more than one goal would be fun.
I'm not greedy. As long as it's our guy scoring the goal, one's fine.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie though. Josh Kirkland goal in Section O to win a game, it would do numbers.
It would do numbers. It would change lives.
That would be great. Yeah, so before we end, 2 things. I always forget to do it at the top of the show, so I'm gonna do it now. Make sure if you would like to donate to help with production costs of this podcast or that of Vinecast, you can do so at our Ko-Fi, which is kofi.com. You can go there, donate as much as a cup of coffee a day, or you can do a monthly donation. All proceeds goes to the production of this podcast, so we can do these great shows for you, such as talking to Darren Sawaski, talking about the U20s, the Vinecast, River City 93, all that stuff as well. It also helps with our website, which we are hopefully trying to get more articles out there. And the other last thing, shout out to Chip McGee. He's a longtime listener to this podcast, so if he's listening and hears this, shout out to him. His son just got accepted into the U10s of the Richmond Kickers youth development program. And the cool thing about it, at the bottom, the person who signed it was Scotty Thompson. So yeah, former Richmond Kickers player there, who is now a coach for the U's. So yeah, that's what's up. Here we go. Yeah, so yeah, for Matt, for Kate, for myself, and Shanir, we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. As always, do something nice for someone else. Be kind. It's hard times out here. We don't need no one to be extra mean or be dickheads or anything like that. And for that, as always, we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day for listening to our show, because without you, we couldn't do this. Want to? Words, whatever. So we'll see you guys next week. Be easy and be safe.